My third guy plays some games. Alright, hi everybody. Weather Guy here. We are back with more of The Witness. Hope you're doing great. I am feeling pretty good. Last time we finished the tree puzzle stuff in the little temple. And then we did a bunch of the little Tetris puzzles nearby. And now we're going to go down here, see what's down here, and then probably go back up. Maybe. There's a tree house. We did not finish a tree house. Let's remember that. We'll have to take the boat over there or something sometime. Always looking to see if we have any more environmental puzzles to do. We did a lot last time. Or no, we didn't do a lot, but we saw one last time. We tried it a lot. Okay, so this is the path that leads up to the mountain. This was blocked off to us before. Okay. Makes sense. So we basically opened up. Yeah, and this is this lovely image too. It's so sick. I love that. And we also unlocked another laser last time that shot up at the mountain. So that's great. Alright, so now we know it's down here. We can go back up. And I must have already come this way before because I thought I looked at all the different paths whenever I got to that dock. Alright, now we're here. I love the red algae down there though. It's actually really pretty. Back to Tetris puzzles. So this one, we know exactly where this goes, right? 4 sideways. But it cannot include... Oh! Ooh. This one's actually interesting. I say that like they haven't all been interesting. So we have a couple of wrinkles in this one, okay? First wrinkle, obviously, is we have a little hole in the path right there to work around. Second wrinkle is we have a 4 right here, which implies that we have 4 across going on. But that can't be the case because we have 3 across, 3 up going right here. So we have to make those work. How do we make those work together, right? How, indeed, do we make those work together? That's interesting. So I have no clue. So, I feel like this has to be our 4 across up there. How do we make that happen? This is odd. Wow. Or maybe it's a case of... Well, no. Where... We gotta figure out how to put these Tetris pieces together in a way that works, right? Huh. Because even if we try to do something like shift these 3 over to this side for some reason, it still won't really work because we have to have... Gosh, it's so hard to explain thoughts for this game with the way the shapes are. It's so hard to articulate the spatial stuff you're trying to do in your head. So, like, what do we do? I'm immediately stuck today. That's so funny. Do we even need to... Yeah, I guess we do have to include these in it somehow. Right. Because we can't have this 4-1 on its own and do something like this because it just doesn't work. We could... No, that wouldn't work either. Like, we could block in just one of these and then have it up, maybe. That leaves a couple empty spaces, so it doesn't work. And again, this was what I was saying sort of earlier, is we could block in both of them, but again, it just doesn't really work because you end up with these spaces on the bottom that aren't fulfilled, even if you try to shift the 3 yellow Tetronimos to the left or something. How do you make this work? How do you make this work? Just trying to think. Does this work? No, because it doesn't include the 4. This shape would not work, actually. I thought it would, but it wouldn't because it overlaps too much. Gosh, this is tough. Gosh, this is tough. Very tough. Okay. We need a shape with 10 squares. Okay. 10 square shape. Keep that in mind. 10 square shape with an interesting shape. Because it has to include all of these. That's really tough. You know? Oh, is it this? It's this. This is it. Look at that. How is it not that? Oh, because it uses the 3s in both of those spots. Okay, hang on. That's generally it, though, I think. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. That was kind of it. What did I have? Was it like this that I had? All right, now what's the correction, right? We just shift everything up and do this. That works, doesn't it? So the 2 3s are in let's call them C1 and C2, right? The third row, first and second column. And then the 4 just goes across the bottom. I think this works. Yes. Okay. This is a similar thing, which does not work because they cleverly say, "Hey, wait a second. Boom, get boned, dude." So we have to find an alternative solution, which makes me absolutely sad, of course. Can't go up the middle. Ah, God. This game really just makes you want to toss your brains out. You know what I mean? Does this work, actually? No, this doesn't work. We have one too many... We have one too many sets of vertical columns there. Yeah, that doesn't work. We gotta think of something different and more clever, I guess. Too bad I'm very unclever. Okay. Theory is that the 3 columns are not necessarily jointed right together anymore. What would that look like? Right? What would that look like? So, interesting thing here that I'm noting, which actually complicates things, is you have to include these 3 boys within a bigger one because you can't close off the left side of, let's call it, gosh, that's what I need to do. I need to think of a way to notate the squares, right? We'll call this B3, second column, third row up. We don't have a way to close these off to make them a unique set of 3, right? So it means they both have to be a part of a bigger one. Is that helpful in some way? It must be helpful in some way. I just don't see how to... Oh, is it? No, because this doesn't include it. Ugh. Can't be anything like that. This is still just wrong. That's very wrong. Gosh, how do you do this? Man, this is a tough pickle of puzzles today. How do you even begin to do this one? So this doesn't work either, of course. because we don't have the 4 included. And so I think another conclusion we can draw is that this 4 piece also has to be included with another piece. The reason why we can draw that conclusion is because the 3 pieces have to be included with another piece. And for the 3 pieces to operate, they have to go across these 2 squares in B3 and C3, right? So it would have to intersect with whatever the 4 is doing here, right? One way or another, they're going to be interacting. We can't make a situation where you have the 4 doing its own thing ever. Because if it's doing its own thing, then it has to be going across the middle like this, right? And that just can't be the case because of the 3 tetronyms. So what do? They all have to be interacting. I think we've established that. But how do we make it work? How in the heck do you make it work? Yeah, we can't cut them off from each other. So something that starts like that will not work. Again, that sort of thing never works because we can't make it to the exit once we take one of these left turns, you know. Huh. We're just sort of meandering a bit till something speaks to me. Not it at all. See, this is what your mind wants to go to, I think, naturally. But, of course, you end up with one too many columns. And there's not really a clean way to cut off one of the columns, right? Because this column is just butchered. This column, if you cut it off, cuts off the groups of 3, which is bad, and you can't get the 4 going either. That's just not right. Well. Oh, what about... No, this sort of thing isn't right, is it? My brain hurts. Hang on. No, this isn't right at all. We have... Well, we do have 10 squares uncovered, but they're the wrong... It's the wrong orientation. It's the wrong... What's wrong with this? Oh, it's 12 spaces. It's too many. This is 1 too many. The one that the 4 is actually on. Huh. So what's the solution? How do we possibly get out of this pickle? Again, that's too many. We need 10 squares. That is 12. This is 11. This is 10, but it doesn't have a row of 4. Which is obviously no bueno, as they say. So what if we do... That's way too many squares. Again, that's way too many squares. Huh. Having a hard time even methodically going about this, you know? It's still that same setup, but I'm naturally going towards this direction. It seems to be the way to go. I just gotta figure out the right steps, you know? Is it ever something where we do this direct? No. 4, 8. No. So even if we cut these off, this is still totally wrong and bogus. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, especially if we do this, because then we're cutting that off. And we're still way too many squares over. Gosh. This is bad because we don't have a row of 4. The only row of 4 we have overlaps with the 3s. Which is bad. So, that's an interesting thing to consider, actually. Now that I'm thinking about this, we know that our row of 4 will have to be on the top or the bottom. Because if it's in the middle, it intersects, right? Right. Can't have our 4 row be in the middle. Makes perfect sense, because then it would intersect with one of the rows of 3. Okay. That's another piece of logic we can maybe work with. So what does that mean? That means that... What can I do with that information? Alright. What can we do with that? Huh. You ever feel like you just say something sort of smart and then you don't have any sort of follow-up? Yeah. This is bad. None of this is good. None of this action is good. That's way too many squares. This is what? What's wrong with this? It's gonna be too many squares. But if we do something like this... This is what I was doing earlier, I think. Something like this. We have to free up the top for this one. The way we have it set up now. Because it can't be in the middle because it would intersect with the 3. So we'd have to be something like this. That doesn't work because we have 2 empty spots. Multiple empty spots, actually. We have a ton of empty spots. So that doesn't work. Huh. It's never having a loose end up there like that. Very tricky. Can't seem to logic my way out of this one. You know what I mean? I feel like we still want to maybe go for the bottom. You know? Okay, so here's an issue that I see that we're coming up with now. Now that I'm doing this multiple times, I see another issue. It's very clear. The issue. So not only do we have to have a 4 on the top row or the bottom row to avoid intersecting with a 3, but we also know that we need to have one of the rows of 3 be on the left side where the 4 is. The reason why we know this is because we can't have a 4 going all the way across the middle. We can't have any extra squares. So one of our rows of 3, one of our columns of 3 has to be on the left side. That's interesting. Okay. That's how we got the shape before. So one of our columns of 3 has to be on the left. The other column of 3 can really be anywhere, right? As long as we don't have any issues with getting it. So we could do like this. This is it. Eventually, you'll logic your way through it whenever you start. Okay. Oh, this looks like fun. Okay. 4, so like... Hate it already. Alright, hang on. 2. Hang on. Wow, a 1. Okay, so this tells me immediately some information. And I don't know what to do with the information. Wow. Okay, let me explain my thoughts here. One thing that I've noticed a lot is you cannot cut off a single square all the way around, right? You just can't do it because you end up on yourself. You know what I mean? Can't do it. So you have to think, how am I going to get this one cut off to only count as one? And the answer is that you have to combine it with another Tetris piece. But what's tricky about that? What's tricky about that is you have this two guy right here, and he's only a two sideways guy. So you can't connect those two together naturally at all either. So you have to, I think we have to use the four guy too. So I think we have to like do some crazy crap where we loop in the four. The two is one of these two up here. And then the one is also just going to be in that column. I think that's what it is. So I think it's, how do we make it work? Something like this. I think this is it actually. Oh gosh, I loved that one. That one felt great. I'm so glad I got that one fairly quick. That felt nice. Oh, this looks like a pain in the butt though. This is too much. This is too many Tetris pieces to make things happen with. Oh god. Alright, let's see. Oh god, I don't want to even think about this one too much. I'm just gonna see what happens if I mess about a bit. Boom, we have our first issue. Look at that. But if we do what? This? That absolves the issue? Uh-huh. But then we have another issue, if you'll notice, in the top left corner. I think. So I don't know if we can't make that shape happen. Can't make that shape happen. Oh no. There's only one space for that shape to happen like that, and it's involves crossing this square right here. Oh, boy. Oh, no. This is making me angry. I was feeling so good, and now this one looks fairly innocuous, right? But I'm immediately, like, flabbergasted about how to proceed. How do we get this top left shape in there, you know? Even doing something like this is futile. The shape is all backwards. Oh, hate that for us. Even if we do something like this, right? Boom, futile. Actually, no, we can just do this sort of thing, right? But again, look. Futile. The two screwed up now. Hate that for us. I don't know why I even sent that. That was never going to work. Or I guess we could do this, right? This would still work for those two up there, but... Oh, brother. Oh, what a dream that would be to get that to work. Okay. So we gotta think of something clever, I guess. First idea is to simply shift all of this over in some way, right? Make one of these the 3 column. That seems to be a good idea. Seems to be actually a pretty great idea, if I do say so myself. So, like, what? Maybe this one? Seems pretty good. Let's just do a test. Do those work? Those should not work, actually. Okay, we're running into a similar issue where we had before, where we have an extra square, so we need to make these intersect in a way where the top one is instead over here like that. Now that should send for those two down there. Okay. And that's the only way we can make that shape work, I think. Sorry, I just thought I heard my kiddo. Alright. Well, we're going to actually tackle this next time, so I have to check and make sure everything's okay. So thank you so much for watching. We're going to figure this out next time. Y'all are awesome. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See you later. Peace out.